Okay, we'll call the meeting to order and pledge of allegiance. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Yes. Vice Chair Kip. Here. Chair Testa.
Here.
We have a form.
All right, yay. Okay, meeting open to the public. Members of the audience can address the committee on any matter within the general subject matter jurisdiction of the LAVTA Board of Directors. Do we have any members of the public?
I did not receive any public comment in this meeting or meeting.
Okay, great. And we'll close the public comment and we'll go on to the consent calendar. We need to approve the minutes from March 26th. Can I get a motion to approve?
Yes, I wasn't there though, I don't think, so I don't think I can approve that.
You
But-
can't. You
Okay,
can
yeah.
if you've read. the
Okay.
minutes.
I'm looking for a pen. Sorry, I move approval.
Okay, and I'll second. All right, so, first and second and all in favor, say aye.
Hi, sorry.
Okay. Motion passes. We will then move on to item 5, which is the treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you. So before you is the treasurer's report for April 2024. Our checking account, our fare box account, our LAF accounts are all very healthy in terms of cash flow. On our expense side, we are at 65.15%, which means we should be coming in under budget at the end of the year. And on the revenue side, we are at 58%. So our normal year's budget is mostly TDA, but last year's budget, a big chunk of it was federal transit administration funds.
Mhm.
And we just put in for those. So the cash is actually in our bank account now. It went in now. Sorry, this is the March report. I'm just going to correct that. This is the report for March. So those funds are in our account, so we should actually be closer to 90%. But usually most years, we don't have that. We don't do the billing to the FTA till we've expended all the funds. And we expended the last of the funds.
Okay, great. So any questions? Okay, nor do I. So can we get a motion to approve to forward this to the board? All right, so we've got a motion and I'll second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Okay. Motion passes on to item 6, Regional Transportation Revenue Measure, SB 1031, board position.
Good afternoon, Chair Testa and committee members. I will be leading this action item today. Today, we are requesting that the Finance and Admin Committee recommend that the board adopt an opposed unless amended position on Senate Bill 1031. Before I get into the substance of the staff report, I want to introduce Eric Thronson. He is the Deputy Director with Townsend Public Affairs and is serving as LAVTA's new state lobbyist. And so Eric will be here to answer any specific questions that you may have. Hi, Eric. Thanks for turning on your camera. This is not our coalition lobbyist. You may recall, we also have a coalition lobbyist with our 3 partner agencies in the East Bay. We are working on coalescing around the same position, but we do feel it's important to get our position noted on the record, which is why we are taking this to you today. So as you will recall from previous executive directors' reports, on March 18th, Senator Scott Wiener and Aisha Wahab co-sponsored a bill, SB 1031. This bill includes important enabling legislation allowing the Metropolitan Transportation Commission to place a measure on the ballot for all 9 counties or a subset thereof in November 2026 or later. And this is critical funding that is needed to prevent the transit fiscal cliff that is being faced by several Bay Area transit operators. The bill has been amended since it was introduced on March 18th. The amendments were released in print last week. The amendments are an improvement from the original language. There is some additional language about returning 70% of the new revenue to the source county within a distribution formula and framework. And it conditions new funding for transit agencies based on compliance with stronger regional network management rules as well as ridership. It also gives MTC control over any new funds raised in the future measure and increases their authority over existing funds that we already receive, such as Transportation Development Act money. That accounts for 37% of our operating revenue. Lastly, the amended legislation requires a study of the consolidation and coordination of the Bay Area transit operators to be complete by January 1st, 2026, and then requires the LAVTA to submit recommendations to the state legislature 1 year later. There is no identified funding source for the study. The bill does establish a fund to receive donations to pay for it. The bill is actually being heard in Senate Transportation Committee probably right this second. I have been watching the last hour and a half, and they just took a recess. So it is being heard today in Senate Transportation. It will be in front of Senate Revenue and Tax Committee tomorrow. So it is expected to clear both policy committees, and its next stop would be, assuming it passes both policy committees, its next stop would be Senate Appropriations on May 17th. We support that the stated goals of this legislation, which envisions a world-class system that meets the needs of our Bay Area residents, combats climate change, and has a meaningful impact on reducing VMT. We also agree that we should allow the Bay Area voters to weigh in on a potential funding measure to support transit. However, there are two areas in which this amended bill does not align with our approved legislative program, which is why staff are recommending an oppose unless amended position. In particular, your legislative program, which I have included in your packet as attachment 1, indicates we oppose any effort to consolidate Bay Area transit agencies. And as noted, this bill as amended does, it somewhat softens the consolidation language, but it still does require a study to be done with recommendations to be presented to the state legislature.
Can I have a question about that?
Sure.
Is it consolidate any or to consolidate all?
It is all of the above. Originally, it was looking at consolidating all. I believe the language now, and I'll turn to Eric to correct me, is to consolidate at least 2 agencies. That is what the language in the bill indicates, that the legislature will receive recommendations to consolidate at least 2. Is that right, Eric? Did I get that correct?
Yes, that's right. I mean, it's written in a way that's like 2 or more. So to leave it open to, I mean, you can't consolidate less than 2, and you could consolidate all, but somewhere in between it's open totally to the assessment that is, that the bill currently calls for to determine.
So at least 2 of how many?
27.
So, I mean, I know that our packet that was approved by the board, I get that there's not a funding source. I am concerned about us saying that we don't want a study done.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, I do see that we serve 3 cities.
Mhm.
Some transit agencies serve 1 city with half the population of Livermore. So in some places, it might make really good sense. It might not make sense here, but I think that's the whole purpose of a study. So I don't want to take a position that LAVTA doesn't want us to have a more data-driven decision
Mhm.
ability.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's the intent of that language here, but, the language of oppose any effort to consolidate is strong language.
Yeah, I agree, and it is in our approved legislative.
Right.
If I could just respond, This has been studied before. There was a study in the nineties and in the early 2000s on consolidation.
Yeah,
I think I am open to a study. I am open to learning
Yeah.
in general. What is problematic for me is this study is not conditioned on any new money coming in.
right,
And
okay,
so in the event that this study recommends consolidation and there is no new money, that could mean job service. That could mean money gets, if we consolidate with a bigger agency, costs go up. And if there's no new money, then service goes down.
right.
And so that to me is, I think the study should be conditioned on a new money coming in or,
I would like to, just when we present this to the full board,
mhm.
for it to be presented in that,
Okay,
like, more that language,
Okay.
right? That like, it's not that we've got some pushback on council stuff where it's like, we don't want you to learn new things.
okay,
Because it might not go our way. And I don't think that's the general opinion of the board, that we don't wanna, but that due to the lack of funding connected to said study, that is a big reason, and that might be an important thing when we present this back to the board.
thank you, that's great, and I appreciate that. If I could point out the other item, so in your legislative program, you support efforts of MTC to maximize the proportion and flexibility of federal and statewide funding sources allocated to the Bay Area and to the small operators. We monitor and engage with MTC and other operators as necessary concerning any use of valuable state transit funding normally allocated to operate service to fund implementation of a regional transit network manager or similar. So SB 1031 as amended gives MTC new authority over existing statewide funding sources with the ability to enact new requirements over the funding, potentially reducing the flexibility of those funds and the amount of funding available to small operators. So for those two reasons, we would recommend an opposed unless amended. And the other small operators in our coalition are taking positions. I know one will go to a board tomorrow. I think that's Tri-Delta Transit. County Connection will be taking a recommendation in May. I'm not sure what their recommendation will be. Few large operators have gone on the record with various positions. We've seen BART and I think Golden Gate with support with amendments position. We've seen VTA, Samtrans and Caltrain oppose unless amended. So it's a mixed bag.
And maybe this is an Eric question, can you explain the difference between oppose without amendments or support with amendments?
Eric?
You bet. Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to mention, my colleague Andres Ramirez is also working with me on behalf of you guys. And he is literally in the hearing right now, as Christy mentioned, tracking the bill and keeping an eye on what the comments are. And we've been working closely with the other folks who are representing the transit operators in the Bay Area, other transit operators in the Bay Area as well. I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of risk involved in, before I get to the opposite, there's a lot of risk involved in the consolidation and the coordination discussion. And I think to just keep in mind, any consolidation is going to mean the less local decision-making involvement, right? And so, for example, if LAVTA was, forced to consolidate with other agencies, your input is going to be reduced because the overarching body that is managing the consolidation is going to be thinking more broadly than our own, 3-city perspective, just to keep in mind. And when I say forced, that's the hammer that Christy's really describing right now, is there is this funding that all transit operators in the Bay Area, all transit operators in the state rely on, this state transit funding. There are two pots in which, this bill requires every transit operator to agree with whatever MTC comes up with in their rules and regulations in order for you to receive your funding. So in essence, MTC is going to be making decisions, and we aren't going to have an option of not agreeing with them if this bill moved forward the way it's written. Whether or not our constituents, our local constituents, like or dislike it, they really can put a gun essentially to our heads, and that's I think that's really the the driving force between a lot of transit agencies who are currently opposing unless amended. Because so oppose unless amended is different than just oppose, only in that we are okay with part of this bill, is what that language, when we say oppose unless amended. We are not okay with part of this bill, and that is the part we want amended. If we said we just oppose the bill, it would suggest that we oppose every aspect of the bill. It's really a technicality that makes no difference. If we send an oppose unless amended letter, we will be listed as opposed to the bill in all of the committee analyses, because they don't separate them. If you're opposed, you're opposed. If you're support, you're a support. Support if amended is just as support if amended. So I worked for a committee. I was a committee consultant for 8 years, and like if we got a letter that said support if amended, it would be neutral, because you don't really support it because it hasn't been amended yet. If we got a letter that said opposed unless amended, you're just opposed because the author hasn't agreed to amend it yet. But I think the nuance is important here, because I believe that we are in general supportive of the concept of more revenue. It's the consolidation and coordination portion of this bill that we really need, amended in significant ways in order for us to be okay with it. And so I hope that helps clarify the difference between oppose unless amended.
Yeah, so like if we send an oppose unless amended, we're gonna be listed on the opposed side. If we sent a support unless amended, we're listed on the support side because they don't clarify. So Bart is more comfortable with it's fine if they just think we support, where we are not. So we're gonna go the opposite way instead of, okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's not very, details.
Yeah.
Yes, I see.
Did you get to finish?
I did. I am happy to take any questions.
Okay, questions?
I asked.
Okay, let's see, I thought I had a question and I kind of lost it, all right. Here comes, okay, then, no questions, we need a motion to, recommend this to the board. So can I get a motion?
I'll move, approval to send to the board.
Okay, to adopt an opposed unless amended position to send on to the board.
Great.
And I'll second, and all in favor?
Aye.
And motion passes. Okay, great. All right,
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Let's say hi to Andres for me.
Of course.
Okay, all right. So let's move on to item 7, LAVTA's operating and capital budget for 2025.
Yes, so we have a PowerPoint presentation for you today. This is we are presenting to you the fiscal year 2025 budget. And we're going to go over the process overview, the budget, operating budget overview, and the capital budget overview. And I'm very excited to share some news on the capital budget. So our process kicks off, next page, please. One after that, please. Our process kicks off in February every year, unless there's something, really crazy going on. We decide to do it earlier because we have some unknowns, but this year was fairly cohesive. We use a zero-based budget, so we don't do, give me what you gave me last year, based on nothing. What we ask for is, I want this amount, and that's because I have 3 hours I want for this, and 5 hours for this. They need to break it down and not just justify it, but really we need to know that they came up with a well thought out number. This was something we started doing, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little longer, because we used to just do what you got last year plus a percentage. Well, then we discovered that departments weren't spending what they asked for. They would say, oh, I'm gonna do these 10 projects, and they do 2. And then they'd ask for more money the next year. And it's like, we tie that money up. We can't use it the following year. So we didn't want to tie money up. So we use a zero-based budget. We get inputs from all of the departments. The department heads actually go to their staff members and get input on what they have planned for the next year, what they think they're going to need. So we get that from all of the departments. For the board, Christie does that in addition to her department. For this year, this is what I'm excited about, we used a new budgeting software for the capital budget. We will roll it out next year for operating. I wanted to do it in 2 phases so we could get at least, not everybody's involved in capital, but get some people used to it before, because it's a huge change, before we rolled it out for everything. So you'll notice that's why your packet is so huge, is because the capital budget is much more detailed than it has been in the past. And our budget for forever has been done in Excel. And Word documents. The Word documents are so we can go back, because when someone says, what did I budget for this? I can say, well, this amount. Well, what was that for? Aha, it's in your Word document. This way we will actually have it all in a system, and there will be notes and information right there. So it's going to be much more cohesive. And I won't have to take people's information and then go put it in an Excel spreadsheet. They will actually enter it themselves into the software. And then when we all sit down together, which is what we do after everybody gives us the information, we go line item by line item, we cut things out, we add things in, and we just kind of hash it out as a management team. So we'll still be able to do that. It will just be in a nice software, and it will actually print out in a budget book, which we can then submit to the GFOA if we choose to, for a budget award. We have never done that, because it's a lot of work if you've never done it before, but this software is set up so that if you follow their guidelines, it's set up to get the award. So we'll have to decide if we want to do that or not. I'm not sure what the cost is, but we like awards around here, so.
It does look much prettier than last year, I will say.
Yes. Our operating budget for 2025 is 25 million. Sorry. This is the operating budget, so it's just over 25 million. It is a 1.69% increase from fiscal year 24. So it's not a huge increase. Part of that is, a large part of that is because we right-sized our purchase transportation, which is 59% of our budget. And last year we had budgeted for going back to the full service we had pre-COVID, but we did our outreach, we did the work we needed to do, and it is now right-sized to what we can actually run. So we're going to, for this current year, come in under budget for the purchase transportation service because we over budgeted so much. And then, so our largest line items are, of course, the purchase transportation, as I said, insurance, which makes up 3% of our budget, utilities, which makes up 20% of our budget, fuel, which makes up 7%, and then salary and benefits together, which makes up 15% this year. Next page, please.
I have a question about insurance, actually.
Sure.
Is this insurance for LAVTA or for the employees?
Oh, it is many types of insurance.
Okay, so all of it
It
is.
is, it would be a
Yeah.
liability insurance, it's all of it together. It's the liability, it's the building, it's the commercial crime, it's the
But it's not health insurance for employees.
not health insurance,
Yeah,
that's under
yeah,
that. Sorry, I thought you meant like it covers us like if.
No, it was
somebody
just
steals.
like, is it 3% is just the employees, or is it 3% with the bigger insurance? Which is-
No, yeah, the 3% is just all that other like liability
Yeah.
insurance, we have
And-
many kinds.
We, just insurance industry in cities is very rough. Are we noticing similar
For sure.
issues? Yeah.
So, on our largest insurance line item, which is liability, and that's when basically we hit somebody's injured on our bus, that kind of thing. That went up 30%.
Yeah.
Some of our other ones went down, which is great, but that one went up 30%. A large part of that is because of the insurance industry as a whole. Part of that is also because we're part of an insurance pool, and there's an experience modifier. So it's based off how your agency is done compared to the other agencies. So those agencies who've had a lot of expensive accidents pay more, and those who don't have many pay less. We usually come in, really low on the experience modifier. Last year, ours was actually the second best. I was really proud of us. It goes back for 4 years, so it doesn't do the current year because claims take a while to settle out. We had an expensive accident in 2021. So that adjusted our experience modifier, so that increased the cost as well.
Mhm.
Not a ton, because it wasn't like the most expensive accident, but it was still the most expensive accident we've had in almost 2 decades.
Mhm.
So,
So what makes it expensive? Is that personal injuries or is that vehicle injury?
it's definitely not the vehicle liability. It's our vehicles, to be honest with you, most of our accidents, we replace mirrors. Or we buff something out of the bumper.
So it'd be more of crashing another car.
That is our expensive one, was hitting another car. We do have some of those, yes, those are definitely the price. It's more the injury of the person that gets expensive. Replacing the car, maybe costs you up to $50,000. But somebody being injured, I mean, not for us, but for other agencies, we've seen where it's gone in the tens of millions. Our most expensive accident cost the insurance company, not us, because we have a 25,000 self-insured retention, which is basically your deductible. So we don't pay more than that on an accident, per accident, not per injury. And our contractor actually pays it. But that particular accident was almost $500,000. So, which compared to other agencies is still great. However, it's not what we want, for us. So that's where the costs really go up, is those personal injuries, and being part of a pool. Unfortunately, we are affected by other agencies and what they've done. So we get that experience modifier, but it's still, all of our costs are wrapped together. Okay, let's see, mentioned fuel, sorry about it. Okay, next page, please. Yeah, I was like, where did we go? So some highlights are our expenditures. We are proposing, this will come back to the board, next month. They'll come to committee next month and the board the month after. A new position for capital plannings and grants manager. That is a working title that may change. That of course went into the increase in the salaries and the benefits. I should also mention our benefits went up as much as they did because of the unfunded accrued liability policy that the board approved in 2022 to pay down our unfunded accrued liability. But to do it all in 1 year, it was going to be a large chunk of money, so we're paying it over a couple of years. And this year, because our revenues were as good as they were, we're paying a little more than we did last year. So that's why it went up as much as it did. Our actual health, dental, vision's not going up as much. Professional services, we have eliminated all of the SCB related budget items, which was a pretty big chunk of money on the professional services side. Our marketing department increased their budget for advertising and digital communications. We are planning a strategic plan this next year. Our advocacy, our 3 lobbying firms now, the one that we share plus the 2 that are just ours, those are new this year. We're planning mobility management, which we received a grant from Alameda County Transportation Commission. So that will be great. That will be for people with mobility challenges. So it'll help with that. We're planning to do an entire fleet and facility audit. We have had the same contractor for our buses and maintenance and operations for 21 years, something like that. And we have never done an audit. You usually only do an audit when you change contractors, but we want to do one because we want to see what the condition of our fleet is, unbiased opinion. So we're going to be doing that. And we increased our legal fees this year because we are going out for an operation and maintenance contract, and just the review, that RFP, it's bigger than your budget. I mean, it's just this huge document. So it's going to cost us quite a bit to have legal review that. And we have a lot of capital plans, as you saw. And those will all involve procurements, and all of our procurements go through legal. So we increased the budget to reflect that for legal. Next slide, please. Okay. In our planning department, we are purchasing a remix scheduling software. Scheduling and planning software. Customer experience department is purchasing a Swiftly real-time passenger information module that should help with that passenger communication with what's going on with the buses out there. In IT, we're increasing our cybersecurity this year. And we're also migrating to the cloud, which is going to be quite a bit of work, but very important. And we have a new contract with SDI for our IT services. Next slide, please. Oh, you're ahead of me. On our revenue highlights. So as I mentioned, this current year, a huge chunk of our revenue came from FTA. That was one-time money. So it is going away next year. I was very concerned. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to balance this budget without taking money out of the revenues or out of reserves. And we were able to do it. Our bus advertising contract increased, regional measure 3. don't know how much I want to tell you because it's another item. Regional Major 3, which was passed many years ago, went to a lawsuit. They finally won the lawsuit, and so last year they called up and said, hey, we have some money for you. So they gave us money last year, and then this year they're giving us a big chunk of money. It's almost $1 million, so we're happy for that. What we don't know yet is how much we'll be getting every year. They haven't figured that out yet. Right now, when they're still, since it was kind of a surprise, they're still kind of doing the, what do you need? And so based on your needs, you can show like losses and that sort of thing is what they're giving each of us. The amount of interest, because we're keeping so much money in our LIF account, has increased. This year I budgeted on what we're actually getting, not just, I was always afraid to put a big number in there, but we're actually getting a big number. So I budgeted 350,000 for that, and it will actually probably come in more, based off trends. I'm always on the revenue side, I'm always very conservative. We have our Atlantis lease, to Google, that almost doubled this last year. And last year, there was kind of a one-time, we didn't get all of our STA funding, because it was being used for something else. We got some money, but we didn't get all that we normally would have received. And this year, we're getting all of the regular funds, so that number went up. And we were able to balance the, operating budget without taking any money out of reserves. Matter of fact, we're putting a little in reserves, which I'm always excited about. On the capital side, it's an increase of $38 million, which is a very big number, but a large chunk of that has to do with our Atlantis facility. We need to put that money in the budget so that we can go and apply for the grants. We have to show that the local match, our match of it, and any other grants are there, because they don't want to give you $60 million. You'd be like, great, now we don't know where to get the other 20 million. So we have to show that we have that. We also, last year, did not have a bus purchase in there. This year, we have 12 buses in the budget. So it went up quite a bit. In addition to our overall Atlantis facility, we have our hydrogen fueling station, a very large chunk of which is funded through the FTA. We got a grant through the state. They're rolling over some FTA funds for us. The Rattan Maintenance Bay hydrogen retrofit, that's the bay here in our shop. We're retrofitting it, so basically it won't go boom when we get the hydrogen buses. That's kind of my big thing. I'm like, let's not blow up. And we have a cloud-based transit signal priority project that I can't tell you how excited this one is about this project. She's very excited about it. So, in addition to a whole lot of other projects, because we actually have 30 capital projects in this year's budget. We do have a new capital projects manager. Unfortunately, he's not with us today. But he's already got plans. He's already got plans to get some of these projects. Some of these projects we've had the revenue for years.
We're dubbing this year the year of the shovel. That's what I'm calling it. So,
Yes, yeah, so.
we need to build things.
So, yeah, no, that's, I was gonna say it, but I was like, no, that's Christie's line.
You're the shovel.
You're the shovel, so we're very excited because, one, we have to report on those grants when we're not using them, which is very frustrating. But two, it'd just be great to have, we worked hard to get this money. And then we just haven't been able to do it because we didn't have the staff to do it. So we're very excited to get these projects out. You're going to see a lot of things within the community. So it's going to be great. All right, questions and discussion.
Well, that is great. There isn't an expiration on those funds.
Yes.
Some there are, some there aren't, and some there isn't like a specific date, but if you're not using them, they're kind of like, look, if you're not gonna use the money, give it back.
Yeah.
Which I did, because that's what I would say if it was my money.
Yeah.
So, but yes, some of them, like our Rattan retrofit project has to be done this calendar year, or we have to get back almost $1 million.
And the Livermore Transit Center improvements also have to be done this calendar year.
Yes,
Yeah.
so.
We're
some-
prioritizing them.
For sure.
Triaging them that way.
Yeah, so, but most of it, like our TDA money, a large chunk of the budget is our TDA funds, and those don't have an expiration. That's basically our money. So.
And yet, the longer we wait on projects, the more expensive.
Yes, that is.
Exactly.
That is very true.
Exactly.
Very true.
Especially construction.
Okay, any questions?
Back just to, I don't know, maybe the pool for buses is fine, the pool for other agencies isn't fine. And so, we don't want accidents to happen.
Right, for sure.
However, do you feel like we are budgeted and prepared for a potential increase in insurance costs. If that's how the market is.
Well, we shouldn't see an increase this year for fiscal year 25. It slowed down getting my budget out, but we got the numbers from our insurance from Calton. So these are their actual numbers. These are what the checks will be. Although there may be a discount, because I think we have a discount coming back from last year, but they didn't have that number, so I think we're saving another 40,000. So this is the number for 25. What 26 may look like? A lot of it depends on the insurance industry, but not just the insurance industry. I just went to a whole meeting on this. The bond market plays a lot into what we pay because CalTIP does invest funds. So if we're getting great returns, then we don't have to charge our agencies as much money. So they do a great job with the investments, and that keeps our costs down. Cool. So as much as they can be. What we're finding with other sister type agencies, who are not in a pool, getting into a pool, you have to petition to get in, you have to be voted in, you can't, kind of like a game, you can't just leave, you have to be like jumped out, right? But we found other agencies who are not in a pool, getting their insurance canceled yet.
Yeah.
With no notice. Sorry, you're just canceled, and then they're trying to get into a pool and they're going without insurance for a year. And yes, we don't have a lot of expensive accidents, but the second we didn't have insurance, we would. So that just scares the heck out of me. So no, our insurance, they're great. That very expensive accident we had, our head lawyer, there's actually many lawyers who work for Caltech. The head lawyer, the lawyer for one of the injured parties, the less injured party, won 185,000. That was after she originally wanted $1 million. They got it down to 185. And he told them, he said, I can settle it for 60,000 today and today only. And they took it at 60,000. But they've been fighting for 2 years and they were just asking for some ridiculous stuff. And they were just that attorney's very aggressive. And they were really good at keeping things from actually going to court. Alameda County is the third highest county in the state of California in terms of insurance settlements. So you don't want it to get to court and in front of a jury, because that's when the price suddenly goes up and you have a $10 million case. So.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got that.
Yes.
Then can we get a motion to forward the operating capital budget 2025 to the board for approval?
Yes, I so moved.
All right, and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Passes. So item 8, approval of resolution authorizing staff to apply for RM3 funds for fiscal year 23-24. As you mentioned earlier, it was coming.
Yes. I'm very excited about this money. So this went to the voters in the Bay Area back in 2018, and it passed. And all the agencies got excited because we were getting this money. And what was approved was a bridge toll increase of $3, $1 at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I remember that, but I was like, wait, what that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So last year, the lawsuit finally settled and, we prevailed, the transit agencies prevailed. And last year they were very kind and called up and said, hey, we have this money, will you send me a bill? I was like, okay, let me send you a bill. And I sent them a bill, and then came time for this, because these funds have their own audit. And the auditor said, great, where's your resolution? Where's your letter from your legal counsel? Where's all these requirements? And we went, MTC never asked for them. So we didn't get in trouble on the audit, but MTC did. So now this year they've called and they've said, hey, we've got almost $1 million for you. This is fiscal year 25, but they said we have almost $1 million for you for fiscal year 24. Before you can send us the bill, we need this resolution and we need all these other documents. I have all the other documents because they're the exact same documents we send in for our TDA claim. And I've already actually sent in the ones for fiscal year 25, but now we need the one for fiscal year 24.
And that's what this
And
is.
that is what this is.
Okay.
Yeah, they just want proof basically that the board was okay with accepting the money. As I guess boards somewhere turn money down, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
so.
that always confuses me.
Right.
Okay, so, all right, then, I need
Move approval.
motion to approve amended claim. Okay, it is on for fiscal year 23-24, and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and so moved. And Item number 9, adoption of resolution approving new workplace violence protection plan under Senate Bill 553.
Okay, sorry, I'm talking so much today. So, this law was passed, it's governed by OSHA, and it's really driven, it's for pretty much all types of businesses, not just government agencies, and it really was pushed by, you've seen those, what do they call them, smash and grab robberies that are happening and employees are getting hurt. And so what this law basically does is it says you need to be aware of this and you need to prevent it. You need to find a way to prevent it. So they list 4 types of workplace violence. The first is people who don't belong at your agency, just people off the street coming in and injuring an employee. The next one is people who have a relationship with one of your employees. You know, maybe it's an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, they show up, they injure your employee. Then there is violence committed by customers. So people who have a legitimate reason for being in your business, but for some reason got upset and decided to attack someone. And then the last one is violence against an employee by a present or former coworker. So those are the 4. The probably biggest lift in this new law is that monthly we will need to do an inspection of our buildings. And we need to partner with those who share our buildings, our contractor, to see if there are any weaknesses that would make it easy for somebody to come in and cause violence. Or, yes. Yeah.
Training.
Well, we check, we do it anyway monthly, to check for like any safety issues. So we'll just add it with that. And then there's an annual training. But they also, anything that might attract people to your business. So if you're that jewelry store that left all your jewelry out front, you know, you're kind of telling people, hey, we've got this great stuff in here. That's not really an issue for us. You know, people look at us and go, ah, they've got buses. Okay. And so, but we still need to look around. We do have something we added this last year. We have our badges, so we now have to badge into the building. Whereas before, somebody coming in, and this happened, but with our TAC members mostly, they would just come in and walk right down the hall into people's offices. And so this way that is no longer a possibility. So we've done, and the driver break room is the same. You can't get in there. You can't get into our back gate. We used to have people wander in, not often, but we have had instances of people wander off the street into our bus yard. Because they followed the tracking device on their kid's iPhone and the kid left it on the bus. So now they can't do that. So we've already done a ton of upgrades before this law was put into place, but now we'll be going around checking, make sure everything works. And make sure that we haven't added anything, you know, planted a big shrub that someone can hide behind, something silly like that. So we wrote this entire policy. It has to be adopted by July 1st, but I was done with it, so I thought I'd just bring it to you now.
No.
I move approval.
Okay, and second, and all in favor? Aye. And passes. Okay, great. Oh, actually, it's short.
I'm done. You get to say.
All right, and then we move on to item number 10, contract award for RFP for on-call creative design and media strategy services.
Excellent. I'm going to invite David Mark and Jennifer Yeomans to join us at the U-shaped dais here, wherever you would like. You want to sit here, you can sit there, you can,
Let's sit together.
yeah, sorry, we don't, and Christy can see that. David is our Director of Customer Experience, and he will be taking the lead on presenting this item for your consideration. Mr. Mark.
Last but not least, let's talk marketing. Well, I am here in front of you today, requesting that this committee recommend to the board of directors an award for on-call creative services, on-call creative design and media strategy services, to a joint venture between two combined agencies, Circa Now and Ben-Hur Marketing. The term would be for a 2-year base with a 1-year option. We require this because LAVTA does not maintain creative design services on site. We have a very small staff. And we need the expertise and some of the specialized technical services to execute a comprehensive marketing plan. And so we'll also need some specialized tools that these agencies will bring with them. The background on this is that we did have a similar prior contract. We used up all of the option years on it and it expired the 31st of last month. We had prior gone into the RFP process, and that included posting the RFP, having a pre-award conference. We had 21 people show up for that. We had 6 submittals. We did get feedback and questions. We had 2 addenda go out. We did have a review by peer agencies, local and out of state, on the interview board with our top 2 candidates. They're very happy to point out that the selected agency and the agency that scored the highest in that review panel is a Bay. Both of these agencies are from the Bay Area. That's always a plus. And let's see, where would I go from there? So it's a 3-year contract with a maximum amount that I need to look at right here of $878,000. This is a task order contract. This is not a retainer contract. That is very important to remember. The 878 is a combination of all possible professional services. It is actually an aggregation of multiple task orders from previous contracts, including ad hoc creative services, planning, and digital. So while we could use all of that amount with the singular agency, I would say it's unlikely we will have other needs also. And task order, not retainer based. Let's see, I would offer that, we've had very good relationships with agencies in the past, had a lot of success. Some would say too much success. Perfect example was Tri-Valley, right? It was an agency that came up with the creative for that. Our Uber and Lyft program. The agency came up with that and designed the advertising, and quite a bit of traction. So having an agency on board is really, really beneficial. The complete scope of work that was in the RFP is planning and strategy services, essentially ad hoc and annual campaign planning, advertising and media services. We buy our media direct, but they would negotiate all of our advertising buys as volume buys. They tend to get better rates than we can individually. Creative services, that includes everything from ad hoc requests, could be reports, a one-time flyer, something small, to maintaining our consistent collateral. Perfect example is we'll have another service change coming up in August. That's actually a really heavy lift when it comes to redoing 15, 16, 17, 18 schedules. And they have the technical expertise to do that. This also encompasses our website and digital services. That's something that, how do I say this? The agency with the previous contract had that, but on a separate task order. In this case, it will be combined potentially into one with a singular agency. But that's hosting and maintaining our website and adding any tools or modules. Think things like trip planning. If you go to our website, you can do trip planning. Well, that takes some specialized programming, specialized tool to do that. So they can add those, and they can also update our content for us. So we need to advise the public of upcoming promotions or changes to service. And it also, the last but not least, is general services. That's their administrative costs, that's their project management, et cetera. So there's no direct fiscal impact, again, because it's task order and the amount is what's already been budgeted. And actually, the total amount doesn't even include any increases over the course of the 3 years. And with that, I can take any questions, and we'd like to recommend that we approve it for Board of People.
How did we get 21 applicants to an RFP? Is that what I want to know?
21 people came to the pre-proposal
21 people
We got
came to the
6
total conference.
proposals.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a.
Yeah.
Well, still, that's pretty good.
We
So-
made quite an extensive effort though to go out and find agencies that were either very strong in the Bay Area or had very strong transit portfolios.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we had lots of pieces. And obviously we need this, so sounds good to me. And is, don't have to explain why it's very expensive. My everyday.
Okay, so this is the first year, we've not worked with them before.
Correct.
All right, well, I would love when something like this comes before us, maybe even to see some examples of what the work is that we're, doing or have done in the past, just for my education, but, okay.
Sure.
So, no further questions, then can I get a motion to, approve, or to, direct the board, or to send it to the board for the, 2-year contract?
So moved.
All right, and, second, and all in favor?
Aye.
And it passes, so great, thank you. All right.
Thanks so much.
All right, item 11, review of upcoming meetings. Okay,
Your last page.
Can I just put on record that we didn't have anybody here for public comment today? I just wanted that on the record. There were no attendees.
okay, thank you for that. Yeah,
This was a busy month and next month will be a busy month as well. So for this committee anyway, we will have the usual treasurer's report and then we will have our salary bands and an organizational review based on our studies. The HR policy has been updated. It's been approved by legal, so that will be coming to you next month as well. And our auditor will be here to do their required presentation and see if you have any concerns, that sort of thing.
okay, great, and July is canceled.
July is canceled, sorry. June's all kind of the regular stuff, and July is canceled.
Okay, great, all right, well then, any matters initiated by committee members? No? No? And next meeting date is May 28th, and we are adjourned. All right, thank you, everyone.
This might be the first time